Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a really fascinating protocol for a new way of interacting with the world and with ourselves. It's all based on reflection, not generation. And honestly, it's a huge shift in how we think about value, about investment, and even about our own role in a world that's being totally reshaped by AI.
So to really get a handle on where we're going, we first got to look back at where we've been. Let's start with the old world, a world that runs, as the source material puts it, like a clock. Mechanical, relentless, and just obsessed with accumulation.
And this is what's called the clock paradigm. It's basically the engine behind the whole rat race. It's a system where everything is measured in things like quarterly returns and productivity metrics. It's constantly asking us to trade our well-being right now for some vague reward way off in the future.
But here's the twist. What happens when something like artificial superintelligence comes along and just perfects this system? Well, the argument here is that it basically creates a dead end. AI becomes the ultimate clock, right? It can optimize and predict better than any human ever could. So trying to compete in that game is just pointless. And that dead end brings us to a really critical turning point. It brings us to a powerful new alternative. Instead of trying to build an even better clock, we're being invited to become something else entirely.
So yeah, let's really dive into this. What if the goal isn't just to be faster, but to be fundamentally different? What if we just stop playing that game altogether?
And the alternative is to become a sundial. Now, what's so cool about this comparison is the contrast. A clock's value is all internal, right? Its gears, its complex mechanics. But a sundial, its value is totally relational. It doesn't come from its own complexity, it comes from its perfect, harmonious relationship with something outside itself, with the sun.
Okay, so if we're operating like a sundial, what do we value? What's our currency? Well, according to this framework, it's something new, and something they call incorruptible.
That currency is quality of life now, or QLN for short, and this idea completely flips the script. Value isn't some future promise you're working towards anymore. It's the tangible, felt experience of your well-being in this exact moment.
So why is this currency incorruptible? Well, think about it. In a world where AI can produce almost anything you can imagine, what's the one thing it absolutely cannot replicate? Your own direct, lived experience. Your well-being, right here and now, becomes this incredibly valuable, incorruptible asset.
But, okay, how do you measure something that sounds as subjective as quality of life? That's where the HARP Protocol comes in. You can kind of think of it as the sensory system for this whole new economy. HARP looks at our well-being across four really essential dimensions. There's our health, physical, mental, emotional. There's our air and environment, both inner and outer, our relationships with ourselves, with others, with nature, and finally our passion, that sense of aliveness and creative flow. It's this real-time reflection of our genuine human experience that turns it into something actionable. All right, now we get to the absolute core of this protocol, the operating system. This is the how-to, the actual process for putting this whole new paradigm into practice. And this is the 5 QLN process. It's a 5-phase protocol for what's called resonant reflection. Basically, it's designed to take the needs that HARP identifies and channel creative energy into creating value that genuinely enhances our quality of life.
So, every single cycle begins from a state called infinite zero. Now, this isn't just emptiness. It's a state of radical openness, of pure potential, totally free from judgments or preconceived ideas. It's the quiet space where all truly authentic questions can finally emerge. From there, the process unfolds through these 5 phases you see here. It all starts when an authentic question bubbles up from that open state. Then it grows as we recognize the core essence of that question and see its fractal patterns. Next, in the quality phase, we see how those patterns align with bigger, universal principles, and that creates a feeling of deep resonance. From that feeling, power emerges, revealing the natural, easiest path to bring that resonance into the world. And finally, following that path creates real, tangible value. And what's so critical here is that every single step is validated by your own internal sense of truth, not by some external metric.
So when you put all of this together, wow, the implications are pretty profound. What we're talking about is a fundamental shift in how we understand and create value in the world.
And this slide just lays out that shift brilliantly. Look at this. We move from just accumulating assets to creating systems of flow, We go from projecting future returns to valuing the presence of well-being, right now. And we shift from a dynamic of competition to one of genuine collaboration.
So what does this all really mean for the innovators, the creators, the leaders of today, the architects of our systems?
Well, first, it means we have to recognize that the old game is pretty much over. That relentless pursuit of optimization and extraction, it hasn't just been improved by AI, it's been perfected by it. That chapter is effectively closing. But the exciting part is that this actually frees up our human potential for a new and maybe much more meaningful role. It allows us to become sovereign creators who operate from authentic, emergent questions, not just from analyzing old market data.
So here's a crucial point. The most strategic venture right now might not be a fund that just scales the old models. Instead, it might be a lab dedicated to designing entirely new models built on these principles of resonance and well-being.
And this really leaves us with a final, provocative thought to chew on. In a world where machines can answer almost any question about what's already known, our greatest, our most uniquely human value, it lies in our ability to ask the questions that can only emerge from the unknown.